Also, I add myself to the thing. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to HobbyView Live. Yes, live again. For a very special HobbyView. Next on a very special Blossom. Hope everybody can hear me okay. Let me know if you can't hear me all right in the chat. Give a few minutes for people to come in. Please come in, have a seat, stay a while, stay forever. A cookie goes to whoever recognizes that reference. So, hello everybody, welcome to HobbyView Live. Come on, get in here. This is a very special live session because I'm going to have a guest tonight, and he'll be in just a minute or two. And it'll be neat. I think it's the first time I've ever had a guest on my live show. And it's an interesting topic, I hope, for everybody. Now, don't go running away if we start talking about this topic, because I think it'll be a very interesting topic for everybody, whether this is something you do in the hobby or not. You can either learn something new about it or contribute to the conversation if you know something already, or this can act as a historical record of sorts for anybody who's looking into the subject and wants a good conversation. And we'll get into it in just a minute. A couple of preamble stuff as people get in here. Thank you, everybody. Come on in. A couple of things I wanted to announce, if I can pull it up real quick. So if you notice behind me, there's an airplane. I've got a new airplane on the bench that I'm working on, and it is, I think I can pull up the website just a second. Hopefully it won't break anything. And click on that. How do I do this? What if I made that a separate thing and then clicked on here and present, share screen. How does this thing work? Maybe it's a window. There we go. Real quick, I think this should be sharing. Maybe not. Yeah, it is. All right. So I've got something really new on the workbench. In fact, it's so new that it's only open right now to pre-orders, and the picture on the website is naked. She's naked. So anybody under 17, tell them to get out of the room. It's naked aircraft. This is an air tractor. This is a big sucker, a 118-inch, 60cc size air tractor. And I've got one right here on the bench that is almost ready to fly. And this will be cool because this one's going to be electric, actually. Usually I do gas engines, but we thought it'd be neat to do an electric version of this. It's got a really kind of pointy cowl on it. Poke your eye out with that sucker. So we thought it'd be interesting to try it as electric, even though it can do gas as well. So look for that soon on the channel from Legend Hobby, and I will. And you have two versions. I have the gray military, the OA1 Sky Raider, as it's called. And it even comes with these weapons. You can see, so it's got all kinds of cool stuff on it. And there's another version that is, I think, the civilian version, which is all yellow. I'll drop a link in the chat. Somebody says what motor. It is a, not Dynam, what is it? Give me a second to remember. It's right here. If I can really, my brain was working. Dual Sky. It's a Dual Sky 60cc motor. There's a box, right? Everything's backwards in this. Everything's backwards. All right, right there's a box for it. So Dual Sky 60cc. It'll be a 12S setup, so more power. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So that's ironically because I'm talking about electric motors when this live chat. We're actually going to talk about Glow engines and such. So I just want to get that preamble out of the way. And he's in the back room, I see. So I'm not going to waste your time. Need help. My mic is a little hot. Is it the gain too high? Sorry, people in the chat saying my mic might be a little bit too hot. So give me 1 second, see if I can drop the gain on the audio a little bit. I'll do this. All right, fly cam, how does it sound? How does that sound? Better? All right, so anyways, thanks everybody for joining me. It's like a good chunk of people in here. Hopefully this will be a really interesting and engaging conversation. So just a little history here. When I started the hobby, Glow engines were king. Everybody flew Glow. A few people flew gas engines. Those are rare. I don't even remember if I even saw a gas engine when I first started around roughly late 80s, early 90s. It was Glow, and weird people like me experimented with electric, but that was it was a weird thing that only weird people. And I did a lot of RC car stuff at the time. I said, wait, RC car, airplanes. Maybe I put the chocolate in the peanut butter and see if I can get a plane. And I had limited success with that, but that's not the whole point. Now, fast forward it to the 21st century, and Glow is probably I would say definitely in the minority, I would think, in a lot of places. You basically have electric, which is very nice. I fly electric, and gas, the big gasoline, petrol powered stuff, the big fire breathing, big planes, quarter scale, that kind of stuff. And you got some funny comments in here. What is this going to do? Electric motors. It's sort of taken a back seat now. Of course, Glow fuel is not as cheap as it used to be. And it's not as popular as it is, but it's still alive and well. And even I still have a bunch of Glow engines, and I like to fly Glow on occasion. I don't do quite as much as anymore. But I had even taken a plane down about a month ago. Somebody was talking about one of my planes. I said, hey, I haven't flown that thing in a while. Let me pull it out, find a problem I had with it, and crank it up. And it was a nice old Kyosho. It was an old plane, Kyosho Zero, 20-year-old plane with 30-year-old engine, Enya 4-stroke. Glow engine, and I had a ton of fun cranking that sucker up, and it just has a unique sound, that kind of stuff. So I thought it would be great. I discovered this channel of a gentleman who is really deep into Glow engines. I thought, man, that'd be neat. At the suggestion of Lee, my buddy Lee, said, hey, this guy would be an interesting guy to talk to. And after looking at his channel, I was like, oh yeah, I want to talk to this guy. So without further ado, let me bring him on board. Dave, you there?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hello. How are you doing?
I am well.
So here we have Dave with, your channel's called Dave Stuff, or AKA the Glow Engine Enthusiast. In fact, let me pop up your channel real quick. Dave, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully this will be a really interesting conversation between us and people in the chat. Let's see if I can pull it up. Present or in? Is it present? Sorry, you think I know how to use this? Share screen. Here we go. Dave Stuff. There we go. So for those wondering, Dave has a YouTube channel called David Stuff, the Glow Engine Enthusiast. Your @ is like at DMRC Flyer 2. Say that 3 times fast. And I'm going to have to ask you what's up with the kitties. I see references to kitties here and there.
I just love cats. That's all. I've always had cats, and they're always my companions. And when I lived in Florida, I had one cat that would always be out there with me running engines, and she was unafraid.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
So, funny story. A couple of months ago, I was in a workshop, and I was about to leave, and I hear, meow. Like, is that a cat meowing? Meow. Look around, and there was a little kitten hidden behind one of my workbenches deep in a corner. And I think, well, that's odd. Why is there a kitten in here? And later on, I find out there were 5 more kittens in the corner. And what happened, I had left one of the doors cracked open, and the mommy cat had discovered it, came in, dragged all her kittens in here.
Oh.
So I was I was a curator of a bunch of cute little kittens for a little while. But they couldn't stay because I usually keep the doors closed. So I put them in a box, and mommy cat said, nah, maybe this is not such a good place to have them. And she dragged them out one by one, and I caught it on camera. So that was pretty cool. So I'm a bit of a cat fan myself, so I don't have any at the moment. So anyways, enough of that. So just real quick, Dave runs the David Stuff, Glow Engine Enthusiast. And when Lee told me about your channel, I said, oh, this is interesting. And I see you got a couple of interesting motors. And man, is this a rabbit hole. I don't know how many engines you've done. I never got to the end. I started, and after about an hour or two of just going scrolling and looking at videos, I kind of half gave up because I didn't want to spoil too much and talk to you. You have been doing this for a long time, it looks like. How long have you had this channel?
I have had the channel almost as long as you've had yours. I started mine in January 18th of 2015.
Wow. Any idea how many videos you have?
Well over 2,000.
Oh, mama, you're a busy guy.
Well, I have to use my own. Well, so my channel has become, and as far as I know, is the world's largest Glow Engine video database. So I've had literally hundreds of engines, featured hundreds of engines, and I have to use my channel at times to remember what I've done.
Fascinating. So that explains why I didn't get to the end, because there's just so many of them. Wow. So let's walk back a little historical stuff here. So your name is Dave. Do you want a last name, or do you know last names? Do you care?
Sure, my name's David McIntyre. It's David.
Okay, David. I'm sorry. So David, so how long have you been in the hobby?
Almost as long as you. I started in 1908.
Can you hear that? Sorry.
No, I don't hear anything.
Oh, so I refreshed your channel and it started playing. So I'm sorry. Apologies. Go ahead. Do that again.
1988 is when I started into the hobby. About the same time you did.
Yeah, that's really close. Wow. And what kind of stuff do you fly? What did you?
I am not currently flying because I have so many other things going on in my life for about the last 7. I haven't flown actively for probably about 7 years.
But you've been running a lot of engines.
Well, I just enjoy the engines, and to me, flying isn't the end all be all of the hobby. There's many aspects, so I just enjoy what I'm doing.
Sure.
And quite honestly, the channel and doing what I'm doing takes up most all of my, we'll say, spare time, which I've got so many other things going on in my life that this is really just a sideline.
Man, I know how that is. So what got you into the hobby?
Well, I had just got to my first duty station in the Air Force, and I was recently married, didn't have any bills, and had a lot of extra money. So I was like, me and my next door neighbor were like, let's figure out something to do, and we just said, well, let's do this. This sounds fun. So that's how how I got started.
Oh, interesting. And I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself. So obviously back then, glow engines were the thing. That was
Well, like you said, that was the thing. There were a few people that did, some Maloney 125s, some old gas engines, and there were a few people that dabbled in those huge, like Astro Cobalt electric engines. The battery life and technology for batteries was just not really conducive. The motors were super heavy. The batteries were even heavier, so it just wasn't. So yeah, glow engine was, in fact, in my opinion, I was flying and got into the hobby in the glory days, I'll say, of glow engines.
Yeah. Like I said, the electrics they'd wallow around in the air for a couple of minutes, and then that was it.
Yep.
Interesting. So where do I start? So I've got I got some questions for you and some show and tell. Thing I'm trying to think, where do I start? So. Well, maybe I'll just start with we were talking about glow engines. I mentioned glow engines are sort of kind of on the out. What keeps you going with these glow engines, seeing as they're not nearly as popular as they used to be?
I just love playing with engines. I have for, all these years. And I don't know. I love things that make fire and spit smoke.
More noise.
Yep. So I don't know. There's just something about them, and I just love, interacting with the engines and stuff. It's just fun for me.
Sure. I know what you mean. It's the mechanical aspect of them. I guess a sense of accomplishment too when you get a good tuned engine that's running well. Versus something you just flip the switch and it's running. It's nice, but sometimes if you're more mechanically inclined or something like that, it is nice to kind of tinker with something and get it running. And,
well, the other thing is I also service engines for other people too, so that kind of keeps me going. And
oh, that's right. So people can send an engine to you and you'll service it up for them?
Yes, I do. I've been doing that for off and on for probably 6 or 7 years also.
Really? That seems pretty popular?
Well, I mean, I think that I provide a service that I don't think I've ever seen anybody else provide, which is I make videos of the people's engine when I do the initial inspection and diagnosis of it. So I'm making the video showing the issue I found with it, remedying it, and then running the engine. And I'm not too sure how many other people do that when they're servicing engines, but that's how I do it. So it gives me a chance to prove to the customer that, hey, I found the problem, it's fixed, it's running, but it also gives me content for my channel too. So
Oh,
it's a
nice.
win-win.
What do you think are some of the most common issues people encounter with their glow engines?
Neglect. No, really.
Why is it seized up?
Well, yeah, and that's the whole thing is that I would say the vast majority of people just don't take care of their engines after a flying season or a flying session, and
Yeah.
they let the oil dry up in there, and then of course that just promotes a bunch of rust and stuff like that. So I mean, bearings is one of the things that I do most. I just replace bearings because typically that's really all an engine needs to become operational to peak capacity again. Is just replace the bearings, clean all the parts, and you're good to go.
So that actually leads to one of the questions I wanted to ask you. What do you recommend people do after they've finished running an engine? We've heard like after run oil and that kind of stuff. Is what do you like to do?
Well,
After,
so what I recommend for people do, and it kind of depends on how long it's going to be before the next time you use the engine. So there's some caveats there. But if at the end of a flying session of a day, the last flight, you always pull the fuel line off the engine and you put the nice starter on there and you turn it over at full throttle until it burns off all remaining fuel inside the engine. At that point, you burn off all the things, the nitromethane and the methanol that contribute or cause corrosion, and you should be only left with oil. So at that point, the engine is fine to store for, a couple of weeks or so. But if you're going to store it for the season, I would recommend maybe, flushing it out with some kerosene and re-oiling it, or just putting some more oil in it.
kerosene. That's interesting. I think that's the first
Well,
time I've
that's
heard
what
that.
a lot of people recommend to flush an engine out. I don't personally do that because I don't like kerosene. If I'm going to store an engine for a long time, I'll just pop the plug and, any opening I can get to, if it's a 4-stroke, maybe in the valves, I'll just squirt some oil in there, because as long as you have burnt off all the fuel that was in the engine, all you theoretically should be left with in there is oil. So it should be in good shape. And as far as an after run oil, Marvel Air Tool oil is good. Ballastol is good. There's a lot of good oils out there. A lot of gun oils are good. So, I mean, there's a huge thing where lots of people can debate about what's the best oil. And it's like the best one is the one that works best for you.
So that's you're going to branch off in two different directions. So it doesn't matter whether you've got castor or synthetic after you've run an engine for a while and let it sit.
So I don't care for pure synthetic oil and fuel at all. Like Cool Power, Morgan's Cool Power, I just don't care for pure synthetic fuels at all, because a lot of the engine I run are older, and they're actually designed to be used with castor oil. Now, of course, they're saying that because back in those days, synthetic oils weren't the same level as they are now. But personally, I don't like the smell of the exhaust with just pure synthetic. I like the smell of castor. And the thing that most people don't seem to understand with castor is they'll be down on castor saying, well, my engine's all gummed up. It's all gummy and it's stuck now. And it's like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to do. Because when castor dries, it forms a protective barrier against rust. So when your engine is castored up, that's a good thing, because in theory, if you ran out all the fuel in it and you were left with only the castor oil, then you've protected your engine. And so it may get stuck after sitting for 6 months or a year. Guess what? Heat gun, more oil, good to go. Castor is not a bad thing. There's been so many people that are so down on castor because it gums their engine up, but they don't understand that it's actually protecting the engine when it does that.
I never thought about that. A protective film over everything. And it's funny you mentioned oils, because I grabbed some oils that I have hanging around that I use for various things. And you mentioned, yeah, I saw it on your channel, 3-in-1 oil. I actually don't use 3-in-1 all that much, but I do use it on occasion for some of the engines on occasion. Maybe some if I'm trying to, like I said, if it's seized up or very stiff or something, I'll use 3-in-1.
Yep.
But I have some after run oil that I mentioned. Yep. I had some stuff called Tri-Flow. I used to use on my helicopters, and it's okay. It's not too bad, but I've been leaning towards. I have two things here. You mentioned Air Tool oil. I like Air Tool oil, and I have some sewing machine oil that I've been using. and that seems to work really good too for loosening up. Getting a engine really free running once it's kind of turned over. So I'm leaning towards these two. I don't know what your opinions are on them. Which ones do you favor yourself?
Well, I mean, as far as the air tool oil, that doesn't look like Marvel air tool oil.
No, this is the Harbor Freight Special.
Oh, yeah, well.
That was more of an experiment to see how well it worked.
Yeah, I've never used it. I used to always just like to use Marvel Mystery Oil, which was actually not really just an oil. It was a fuel additive that you could put in cars and boats and, other engines and stuff. And I would use that, and I always had really good results with that too. But I mean, I like Marvel Air Tool Oil. I mentioned Ballistol. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. That's a very old oil that was invented by the Germans back in World War I. And it was used for them to keep their weapons clean and stuff. And that's a very good oil.
Yeah, you mentioned gun oil.
There's a lot of good oils out there, and the best thing to do is just experiment with the ones, and I like to get the oils that I know work really well and that are not super expensive. Like 3-in-1 is a great oil, and I use that when I'm doing most of my anti-seizing of engines or disassembly because it's got some penetrating qualities, and it heats really nice, and it really gets in there and loosens parts up. So that's what I use as my disassembly oil typically. And a reassembly oil, I'll use usually Ballistol, or I've got another Boca bearings lubrication called Lightning Lube that I'll use too.
Interesting. I'll have to look up those two, the Ballistol and the Boca. It's the first I've heard of those. I'm always looking for something good. The good thing is it sounds like it's not super critical in a lot of ways which oil you use, as long as you've got a good quality oil.
Well, a lot of people even have used, they say, well, just put transmission fluid in your engine. I mean, you could do that, but I don't care for the way that smells.
Oh, okay. So it's interesting you say that. So I was going to ask you about unseizing oils, and I'll tell you what I do, and you can tell me if I'm left field according to David or not. So if I get an engine, either one I bought used or one that's been sitting since the dinosaurs roamed, and I want to unseize it, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take it apart, or at least into major sub-assemblies, stick it in a crock pot of transmission fluid. No, not transmission fluid, antifreeze. And let it soak for a few hours in there. And a lot of times that will soften up and unseize a lot of parts. If not, then I might take a heat gun to it. And then I'll try to disassemble it more and stick it in a sonic cleaner with, you had it on your channel, the, what is that, LA's Super Fantastic?
Hey, LA's totally awesome cleaner. Don't use it. Don't use that.
Don't use it, really?
They've changed the composition of that material or that fluid. So it was weird because I don't want to digress too much, but I used LA's for many years and I never discolored an engine. And then all of a sudden it seemed like a light switch changed, something changed, and I started getting a lot of reports from people saying, hey, we did this, like you said, and it discolored our engines. Ooh. And I was like, really? So I started using it again, too, and it discolored my engine. So I stay away from that like the plague now. I mean, I still have it, and I use it, but I'll use LA's only on non-aluminum parts because it does not interact well with aluminum. It starts to have a chemical reaction with aluminum right away. You can see it. And I'll use it on steel parts because it really takes carbon and stuff off really well of steel parts like sleeves. But I won't use, and I will use it on aluminum parts if I'm only using like a toothbrush or a toothpick. Yeah. And then I wipe it off right away, but not in the cleaner, not in the ultrasonic ever again. No. So yeah, and as far as what you said about the ethylene glycol in a crock pot, nope, I won't ever do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me ethylene glycol makes a lot of harmful vapors. And that's just not a good thing. I'm not going to use anything like that. And I'm not going to sit there for hours when I can do something that takes me 5 minutes to do. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. A heat gun and good oil, and I can free up any engine in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Why would I want to spend hours letting it soak there and smell all that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I know it's very toxic. It's always something you do outside.
Well, that's the other thing is it's not cheap either. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm always looking for the best solutions that are economical, efficient, and at least as planet or human friendly as possible. And I will stay away from things that are highly volatile and strong solvents because it's just not good for us to breathe in, and it's usually expensive.
Yeah. So how do you say clean up the crankcase if you got an old engine that's sort of
I use
overheated or
ultrasonic
something?
cleaner.
I'm sorry?
I use an ultrasonic cleaner,
Okay.
but what I'm using now is a product that a friend of mine gave to me. His name's Mike. He gave me some, and it's called Zep. It's a powder. It seems like they only sell it in a big 5-gallon drum, and he sent like pounds of this stuff. But it's like Zep 15,280 or something. I have a video on my channel where I kind of talk about it, but man, does it do wonders. I mean, it just absolutely does wonders for engines. It's a powder you put like a tablespoon in with your ultrasonic cleaner and I usually turn my heat up on the cleaner to about maybe 104 degrees.
Yeah.
It works so well.
I'd never heard of that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try that. I got something new to try.
Yep.
That's interesting. Okay, so maybe I'll ditch the whole crock pot and LA's. I think I haven't bought any LA stuff in quite a while, so maybe it's before.
LA's is good. It will clean, smaller things, little things that have like carbon on them.
Yeah,
and like
steel.
I said, I've used it. It cleans really well, but I just won't put it in a crock or an ultrasonic cleaner, and I won't expose it for any time at all to aluminum cases or heads or anything like that because it will discolor them, and then people get a little upset.
So Robert says they lowered the VOC in it. I guess he's talking about the LA's super fantastic whatever cleaner. I don't know what VOC is, but maybe you know what that is. I don't know.
I'm not sure what that stands for either. Volatile compounds, I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. So let's see. Let's go through some other questions I had. So you've got a lot of engines. I know you've probably can't remember every one. Do you have a favorite of the engines that you've run?
Oh boy. Could I have the list of favorites like be 15 or 20? Because honestly, it's hard to say a favorite engine. Because let's make it simpler. A favorite single-cylinder engine.
Okay.
I would say would have to be one of my favorite single-cylinder engines. Would have to be probably an Enya 4-stroke, maybe an Enya 80.
Oh man, after my own heart. All right, yeah. And fan.
The Enya 80 was my very first 4-stroke engine, and I bought my first one in probably 1989.
Wow. God, that's cool. Okay, how about the other end? What is your least favorite engine, single-cylinder engine you've come across?
To run or work on?
Oh man, we're getting technical here. Well, how about both?
Okay,
well,
so
it can be different engines.
I've had some really, so in those days when you and I got into the hobby, there were so many engine manufacturers out there.
Yeah.
And now it's a fraction of them. So, so there are a lot of people copying, but so some of the worst engines I've ever seen or had experiences with due to quality control issues or whatever, probably MDS engines are some of my least favorite. They were Russian made and they just had really, really horrible carburetors. If an engine doesn't have a good carburetor, it's not a good engine. Everything else may be spectacular on it, but if you don't have a good carburetor, it's like if you don't have a good heart, you're a worthless human.
Yeah, that's a good point of failure.
So an engine with a bad carburetor is a worthless engine. So MDS has definitely had some of the worst carbs that I've ever had to deal with, and some of the other Eastern Bloc engines, we'll say.
Yeah. I saw you had I think it was a Norvell engine you were running, a little one. I think that's on my thumbnail. I thought that was kind of neat.
I hardly remember that engine. When you use that as a thumbnail, I'm like, where did you come up with this thumbnail? I don't have a whole lot of experience with Norvell engines. I think they make some really good engines. But I'll say this. I can also say this. Any of my least favorite engines are ones that are under 40 size. I don't really care for the small stuff at all.
We're going to have a discussion about that. Lee says K&B was his arch enemy.
K&B engines are, they're not in my top list of favorite engines, that's for sure. I've had some good K&B engines and I've had some real stinkers. So I've had mixed results. And that's the other thing I judge them on. If I have like 5 different flavors of a company's engine and some are good and some are bad, well, then it's just kind of yeah. But if 90% of the engines from one manufacturer are excellent, like OS or Saito, it's pretty easy or Enya.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting you talk about Enya, because Enya is not really talked about all that much. Everybody talks about OS and Sato's, but Enya's. So that's going to lead me to the next thing. So I've got a box of engines. I'm not going to go spend too much time on them, but I thought you might find them. Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of engines in there too.
So since I was going to talk to you, I was going to go through some of the more interesting ones that either I thought were interesting or I saw on your channel and I wanted to discuss. We don't have to spend a whole lot of time on them, but I thought you might find this interesting. But the first thing I do want to pull out is this guy. It's kind of far away. You probably recognize it.
Yeah, looks like an Enya. Is that a 15?
It's the 09.
That's the 09. That looks rather large. Okay.
Yeah, probably. This is the very first non-Cox engine I ever had. Cool. This one, I was in high school, and a shop teacher of mine knew I liked model airplanes, and he tinkered with model airplanes. He says, hey, you and a couple other kids want to join me to go down to, this is up in the Northeast, so we went to the Ram show, if you've ever heard of that. In New York, and I'd never been to any type of hobby shows, and it was not that long of a drive for us. And I said, heck yeah, I'll go. And it was an awesome show, and they had a swap meet section, and there was this plane for $50, ready to fly, other than it needed a radio, I think was the only thing it needed, but it came with this engine in it. It was and it was this Enya 09, and I've had a love-hate relationship with this engine, mostly love, but this was my first throttleable RC Glow engine. I ran this a lot. It's been in several planes. It still runs technically, but it's kind of worn out. I didn't realize I was kind of using the wrong fuel. We talked about lubrication. This one actually likes castor oil and a little higher percentage. And I was running like Cool Power in it pretty much exclusively. So now it runs, but it doesn't really idle very well. It doesn't have a lot of power. And so I learned the hard way. But I actually have a few more now I've collected over the years. So this one is just as a memento.
So you might actually be able to revive that if it's not too worn out, if you start using a castor-based fuel, because in those days, they used castor oil as part of the break-in process, and it actually helps seal the engine. It helps keep the compression up because castor fills the pores. Some of the pistons in those days were porous. So castor will fill the pores of the engine, creating a better seal and creating better compression. So you might be able to restore that some just by running castor-based fuel in there.
Oh, I do. I have some castor-based fuel, so I'll definitely do that. Well, I'll get to the fuel later. A funny story about this engine. So, as you know, you can't see, but it's got some odd screws on the side of the carburetor. So, it has two screws that hold the carburetor in.
Yep.
Instead of a clamp fit or something.
Yep.
So I didn't know how to fly RC airplanes, but I was able to start it, and I was just taxiing around in the schoolyard. I did not intend to fly it. I was just going to taxi around, get used to the throttle. And I guess I had the engine set too rich, because ultimately I found out later one of the screws came out in the carburetor, and it went full lean. It didn't quit. It just ran at full throttle. And here I have this airplane. I can't shut the throttle off. And of course it takes off. It goes up. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Goes up, stalls, comes down, smacks into the side of a school building, and just and it actually knocked off one of the lugs on the engine, but it otherwise didn't harm the engine.
It didn't bend the crank?
It did not bend the crank, surprisingly. Yes.
Wow.
It ran like a top afterwards. So I put in some, I guess it had an odd thread, and I found some screws that had the same thread at the time. I was just a teenager. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But these are the same screws they're kind of weird screws that I found that fit with the thread, and I've used it ever since, and there were several planes. So I've got my own history with Enya. So when you said you're an Enya fan, that really is after my heart with this little baby.
So I don't understand why Enya doesn't get the recognition that they deserve, because first of all, Enya engines run forever. Literally, they will last many, 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 many years, as you're a testament to. And they make some of the highest quality engines ever. So yeah, I'm a big Enya fan.
So Lee in the chat told me about my Zero. I forgot to take it down. I don't know if you saw my channel. I think I sent you the link. I have a Kyosho Zero. It's like a 40 size thing, and I got it at a swap meet for a steel, and it had an Enya 4-stroke 53 in it. And I said, well, that's kind of neat, an Enya 4-stroke. And I think, like you said, it runs great, runs like a top. I had an issue earlier. It turned out not to be with the engine. It was with the glow system. It has a remote glow, and I won't go into that. And I pulled it down about a month ago and got it running again and flew it around. But I noticed that the front bearing looks like it needs to be replaced on it. And so it's interesting.
Send it to me.
So how hard is it to replace bearings in like an engine like that?
I've got so many. In fact, I'm working with Boca bearing right now. I have been since about April of this year, and I'm posting a lot of bearing removal and installation videos. So, I mean, bearing removal and installation is not difficult, and I always use tools that are very easy to get. They're readily available or inexpensive. So, I mean, if you do a search on my channel for just the term Boca bearing, you'll see I've got a whole playlist of bearing engine replacements. So I'm making a whole lot of I'm making a database for Boca as far as, you know, a whole bunch of different types of engines and showing how to do bearing replacements. So, I mean, it's not hard, but if you need help, you can send it to me.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. It's funny you mentioned Boca bearing because I was actually looking at them not too long ago. I was going to get a bearing from them for the engine and for some RC car stuff too, because I know them really well for RC car bearings, but I see they have a whole bunch of bearings for all kinds of engines and stuff. I said,
Yep.
oh, cool. Do you have a particular type of bearing you recommend for an application like that? Because they have ceramic and sealed and not sealed and this and that. They have like 5 different types of bearings. Like, I like candy.
So Boca is making a big deal out of ceramic bearings or ceramic hybrid bearings. And a ceramic hybrid bearing is one that still has a steel race, but the balls are ceramic. But then they make full ceramic bearings too. And I installed a set of ceramic bearings in a Glow Engine, and I wasn't super impressed with them because I think when you get ceramic bearings, they're not oiled. They use a grease. And it's possible that they can be over greased and tighter. So I haven't had a whole lot of experience with ceramic bearings. So I guess my favorite bearing would just be, you know, straight stainless steel ones because they spin just wonderfully. Now, here's something about ceramic bearings that you may not know. And I didn't know this until like a couple of months ago either, is that ceramic the material is much harder than steel. So the ceramic, actually, the balls in there continuously polish the inside of the race.
Interesting.
That's what they claim. But, I mean, they have ceramic bearings for a lot of, you know, so Boca makes bearings for so many different industries. We may be just micro-focused on the hobby industry, but they make, you know, bearings for the medical industry and all kinds of industries where ceramic bearings are probably a lot better suited. Personally, I don't think they're very well suited for our applications in glow engines at all because I don't have enough experience with them. The one experience I did have with it, I wasn't excited about at all. In fact, I'm planning on taking that engine apart and either taking those bearings out and seeing if there's just too much lubrication in them or just replacing them because I didn't care for the way they performed at all.
Oh, interesting. All right, let me go grab a few more engines here. Another old one. I didn't really intend to show this one, but I thought it was funny. So this is an old OS 10, and what's unique about it is it's actually got the RC car head for the air. But I don't think I ever used it in the car, or I used it very briefly in the car, and I used it in an airplane. And I had a crash and knocked off a bunch of the fins.
Looks like you've got a pusher prop on there too.
Good eye. So I actually had it in a pusher plane because I figured, hey, it's got the extra fins, a little better cooling. And I had it in I think it was it the wing? It was called an X-Wing. It was the Klimberg. I think it was the same company that made the Klimberg wing, and it had like an X-Wing looking futuristic plane. It was a pusher, and I had this engine in it. They weren't the most powerful things in the world, but I thought it did okay in an application. And so I thought it'd be funny that I had this old broken engine. It still runs, as far as I know. I haven't run it in a long time, but as far as I know, it runs fine. Real quick, nothing special. I also like
FS48 Surpass?
20.
Oh,
the
that's
smallest
the 20?
one they make. This is the 20.
Excellent. Okay, yeah.
So I've always liked, I had an interest in four strokes, but until I was an adult, I was too poor to buy one, or didn't spend the money on one. And so later in life, I started grabbing four strokes at swap meets and stuff as I could find them, because these fascinate me the most in a way, is the four strokes. And I actually have an old Kyosho plane that I'm going to put this in. That's meant. It actually has a picture of an OS 24 stroke on the cover, on a picture of it. And I thought it'd be a nice. It's just a high wing, nothing fancy. And I thought it'd be cool to have a little 20 size four stroke OS. I don't think I've run this one, but it's free and seems fine. I've run other four strokes, but not this one. So this one, you're gonna laugh at this one or find this interesting. Yes, the HP.
Yep.
Now
this is BT49. What's yours?
Okay. I saw the video. This is the 21.
Yep. They also made the 25.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, it was a car engine.
Now you weren't a fan of the 21. You had some issues with yours, I saw in your video.
I had several 21s. One was really good, and one I could not get to function at all, even though it seemed like it had really good compression and all that. And I had so many people giving me different suggestions for it. And even to this day, I still have people commenting on there, giving me suggestions like, dudes, that was years ago. I don't have it. So here's the other thing that you don't know, and probably many people don't know, is like, I don't have 100 or 200 engines. I cycle through them. I don't keep them all because, life changes and things like that. But it's like, I'm not a collector. So I use them, and then I pass them on to people who are going to put them in the air. So, or maybe 15 or 20 I'll hang on to, but it's not like I've got a collection, a huge collection. But yes, those are interesting engines.
Yeah, they're what do you call it? The sleeve valve or something like that?
Yeah, it's a rotary valve.
Rotary valve. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So it's a neat looking engine. I think they're English, right? Out of UK?
No, they're Austrian.
Oh, Austrian.
So
okay.
They were made in Austria, but now they're made in the United States by Mikoa.
Oh, they're still being made. Oh, yeah, I know Mikoa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did not know that. Now, like you, I saw one on an airplane at, you've heard of Small Steps that they out in Arkansas?
No.
They just had an event a couple of weeks ago or last week. It's a neat event. It's been around for a long time. It's meant for aircraft, smaller size planes. So 0.25 cubic engine smaller and equivalent electric. And so you see a lot of people out there with small Glow engines and Cox engines and small electrics and stuff like that. And there was a guy I had with the same engine on a plane, and the thing ran like a top. It was really neat. And so when I found this at a swap meet for a really good price, I grabbed it up for quickly. And I have a plane. I have a plane I'm planning on back converting from electric to Glow specifically for this engine, because it's just a neat engine, had a neat sound to it. It just kind of putting around. And so when I saw your video and you're having problems with it, I was like, oh.
Well, so one of the things that can happen with those engines is that it sometimes the problems might actually be operator induced, because if you use a plug that's too long, they really strongly in their instructions say, hey, don't use a long plug. Because of the way the plug goes in there, and that rotary valve can actually hit it and damage that. And if you do that, then you're done. But like I said, you can get a lot of spare parts now from Mikoa, because they bought the rights. Mikoa, the model engine company of America, they bought the rights to a lot of these companies that were going out of business. And they bought up a lot of their supplies and stuff, and they actually maintain selling a lot of those. So you can get parts for that.
Interesting.
I'm sure.
Oh, that's good to know. So on the bad end of the spectrum, another one, I saw you, and I was happy that when you tried running it, and that's this. You probably recognize.
Oh, it's a Fox.
A Fox 74 Eagle.
Let's see here. I got one of those right here too. I haven't run this particular one. This one is a Fox Eagle 74 also. But, so you can get, Fox they make really good engines. It's possible.
Not this one.
Well, so what's the issue with it? I mean, they have complicated carburetors.
So this has an interesting story. A friend of mine actually bought this for his plane years ago. I've had this engine for probably 30 years, close to it. And he bought it. He could not get it to run. And so he said, I can't get this MF and son of a mother to run. You can have it. And I said, what? It's like, you can't get it to run. It's just an engine. These things are simple. I couldn't get it to run at all either. And so as far as I know, this engine, as old as it is and beat up, has never really run because neither of us could ever get it started.
So the
It's the
thing
only
that's
engine
interesting,
I've never had that problem with.
the thing that's interesting about Fox engines and that vintage is I believe they were all pre-run from the factory. So what they would do, at least for some engines, is they would preliminarily set the tuning up on them so that their idea was for some of their engines, maybe not all of them, you take their engine out of the box, put it in a plane, and it's ready to go because they've already pre-tuned it. You may just have to do some. So I don't know. I mean, I've seen some dud Fox engines, but for the most part, every Fox engine I've had has run really well. You just have to really understand the carburetors because Duke Fox was really either you could consider him a madman or you can consider him a huge innovator because he had different carbs for just about every engine that he made.
Engine ADD. Well, I saw even on your video, yours didn't run quite all that well.
Well, I think if I'm remembering correctly, there was one of those that, yes, there was many people had the same issue, and they're like, well, what you got to do is you got to take the barrel out, and you got to use a file, and you got to open up this. I'm like, really? And I think even the Fox instructions said something like, oh, well, if you have this issue, then just do this. And it's like, no. I want to buy an engine and it better be right.
Just put it in the lathe and read it. What?
I think my opinion of Fox when I read that kind of went down. I'm like, you're telling me to take a file out and file a groove in something? No, I'm not doing it. But I did do that. And I think I got the engine to run better, but not to my...
So I don't know if I'm ever going to try to run it again. It's sort of just a memento. Just that, not to be too cocky about running engines because every once in a while you get one that's just not going to cooperate. And I don't know if I don't have a plane for it anyways. It's just, I might clean it up one day. So another one I saw on your channel I thought was cool because I have one, but I've never run it. I need to, I think, get some replacement parts is a rotary engine.
A Wankel.
Yeah, Wankel, yeah. This one is a Gropner label, but I don't know if it's different in the OS or not.
They all had that. That's actually the version 1 also.
Ah, okay.
They had 2 versions. The version 1 has that cooling ring screwed to it like that. The version 2 had it was actually the cooling fins were built into the engine. So yeah, that's a very, very collectible engine. They're hard to find. And
is it?
Yeah. So what you're holding in your hand is equivalent to like a pound of gold.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people will pay stupid money to own that. So just so you know.
Wow. Hey, my buddy Terry's in the chat. He's got one too. So I guess we got a retirement fund, Terry and I.
Now, as far as operation, don't screw with it because you can't get replacement parts for it. Those little what are they called?
This is the wipers, right?
Yeah, I can't remember what those things are. Yeah, you can't get parts for them, and those things I've seen a few videos of people flying with them, but I mean, the power to weight ratio, I'm not sure is all that good, and I've heard people say they consume fuel at a high rate, but I don't know. I can't substantiate any of that, but I know that you cannot hand start those, period.
Oh, really? Interesting.
No, there's just not enough compression because I can't get it's a Wankel, and so it's a rotary engine. So yeah, you have to use an electric starter, period.
Interesting. So maybe I should just clean it up and throw it on eBay.
Well, it's worth a lot if you have a box.
Oh no, I don't have a box. No, I'm not a collector, but it's just an interesting thing. I'd actually like to see if I can get it to run personally, at least once.
I've run them several on my channel. So.
Yeah. I saw one video. That's when I saw it. I said, "Oh yeah, I got one of those."
Yep.
A couple of things. Nothing remarkable, but I've got a. The reason I pulled this one out is just a OS 62 FS. Yeah. So this, I actually have a near-term project for it. I'm going to be building a kit as part of a review for Model Aviation Magazine, and I'm going to put this in it, a 4-stroke 62 in it. I just happen to have. I thought it would be a neat. It's a Tiger Moth biplane, and I thought it would be neat to have a nice 4-stroke kind of putt around in it. And so I've heard these are good engines. I don't know if you have much experience with them.
I've had several of those and the 95 also. I like them.
So yeah, I look forward to running it. It's kind of neat. A couple couple things. I don't know if I've seen these on your channel, but control line engines. Do you ever play with those at all?
I have. In fact, I just ran a couple months ago. I had a old McCoy 35.
I think that this is a McCoy 29, as a matter of fact.
Yep. So I have run a few control line, but I mean they're not a big thing because they're not. You can't get them to idle. There's no transition. It's just wide open streaming. So some of the fun is out there, but.
And I had this. I don't know where it came from, but it's got two markings. It says testers on the back, but it says McCoy on the side of the flange.
Testers and McCoy, I think they were either the one and the same, or I don't know, but yeah, I've had one of those. I've had several of those on the channel.
And it's just a cool looking engine. I don't think I'll ever run it, but I do at some point have a control line, a bigger one. I'm not. I think it's got a McCoy in it too, as a matter of fact. But
just wear earplugs.
Yeah, no mufflers. The suckers are loud. So one of the last things is these little guys. I don't think I saw any Cox engines on your channel.
I have a whole half-A playlist.
Oh, do you? Okay. Like I said, you got 1,000 videos. I didn't get that far.
I played with a lot of, I won't say a lot. I've had several Cox engines. I've had several, oh God, what are some of the other names of those other small, WinMax?
WinMax. Yeah, WinMax.
Cub.
OK Cub.
Yeah, OK Cub. So I had a few of those.
Testers, too, had their own line.
I had one of those. In fact, I still have one. It's like the 010 or 020. I mean, a really.
Oh, yeah. I have one of those, too, somewhere. TD 020. I have 010, too, somewhere.
Yep.
This was kind of my gateway drug into model airplanes. So I had, when I was a wee lad, I had a stepfather that liked model airplanes, and so he had one of those, the Cox control line, the PT-19. Everybody probably had one of those, and that was my first Glow-powered model airplane, and that got me into the Cox, and I stayed with this. I had a various other Cox control line, and when I got into RC. After the disaster I had with the Enya-powered plane, I built a General Electric glider and used a Cox 049 on a power pod to fly it around. That basically taught me how to fly. So I built a whole, I've lost count of how many Cox engine planes I built, RC mostly. And so I have a long love and nostalgia for Cox 049, 051 powered airplanes. So that was my gateway drug into model airplanes, and
nice.
I have to see some of your videos on that. And now I branched off. I have some Norvels I mentioned earlier as well, and some oddball. I have a couple WinMax that I haven't run anything, but I'm gonna like to put them on a stand. So I think that's it for my box of engines that I wanted to discuss with you for the most part. I think I had some more questions. Let me go check my list. Oh, wait a minute. No, I haven't finished. Oh, yes.
Cool.
So I got remember the boxes on my table. That's right. You were trying to guess what some of them were earlier.
Yeah.
So let me just go down the list here in reverse order. I think you have some of these on your channel, but a diesel engine.
I have a playlist for combustion, what's it called? Combustion ignition.
Combustion ignition, yeah.
I don't do those anymore. You can't electric start those. You have to hand start those things.
Yeah, I just got one. This is a brand new one, but out of curiosity, like at that same Small Steps event, there was a guy who had a diesel engine, and I was kind of interested. I've always had a kind of interest in diesel, just out of curiosity, and so when I was able to pick one up,
well, the thing that's tough about those is that it's hard to get ether to make the fuel.
Yes, they're saying you got to use. There's like a starter fluid from one of the tractor companies that people are using.
Yeah, John Deere.
John Deere, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I've got some in right behind me here. It's like 80% ether or something like that. Which is pretty amazing.
You feel really good when you start mixing the fuel or the walls start moving. This one's kind of interesting. I didn't know this is a Super Tiger.
That's an old one.
It's a Super Tiger 11.11. Oh, sorry, it's in the bag. I didn't even know they made one that small until I saw one at a swap meet. And so I just grabbed it just out of curiosity. You
can tell how old that is by the color of the box and the marketing of that. That's really old.
But it's got this neat blue head on it. I thought it was kind of cool.
They did a lot of blue head stuff then, and they're nice engines.
It looks really nice, really well made. Now, maybe it's me, but I found that a lot of the Super Tiger engines, like the regular ones, like the 40 size and stuff, sometimes come out of the factory not so well set up with the carburetors. If you had to kind of tweak them a bit to get them running right. Have you had that same experience?
Well, did you know that there are 3 adjustments on a Super Tiger Mark 10 carb?
3? I thought there was only 2.
Yes.
Really?
You got a high-speed needle, you got a low-speed needle, and you
Right.
can adjust the angle of the spray bar. Those are the 2
Oh, I didn't know
screws on
that.
the left-hand side of the carb that hold the spray bar in place. You loosen those up, and you can adjust the cat's eye.
Holy
And that's
crap.
how, because a lot of their engines would have a transition problem. And people say, this thing idles good, and it is high throttle's great, but I just can't get a good transition. And a lot of times it's somebody had played with the cat's eye or the orientation of the spray bar, and so that fuel inlet that comes out of the carb where you stick your glow on, that should be pointing right down towards the back rear lug. If it's sideways like this, then your cat's eye, the spray bar opening is not in an optimal position. So
so you're saying down like sort of an angle for the
that would
opening,
be, yes, and that's
nipple?
what I found. And if you take the carb off and you look at it and you're looking at it, you can kind of see, oh, you're looking in the bottom. You're like, you want that cat's eye to be pointing
right down the barrel.
And it's not necessarily your inlet's not like this. It's more like this.
Right. I had no idea. I thought it was just a screw to tighten the whole assembly together or something.
I'm about to start a whole video series on carburetors. So.
Wow. Because otherwise I found the Super Tigers would be really good engines, really powerful. Just sometimes out of the box they weren't that.
Well, those Super Tiger carbs are some of the best carbs made too. It's just you have to understand.
Yes. So here's an engine. There was a state sale. They basically just gave it to me because nobody wanted it. I had no idea what it was. It's made by the Bully Company. Ever heard of those? And it is. I don't even have a muffler for it. It's big. Made in Austria. It says Bully.
That's
PR.
a Weber.
Is it a Weber?
A Weber Bully? I thought Weber made Bully engines or something. I don't know. Maybe that's something.
That's an interesting question.
Cool.
And what was the neatest thing that drew my attention is it's got 2 glow plugs.
Yep.
So what's up with that? Why the 2 glow plugs?
Well, it's just some, Fox had a couple engines that had dual plugs too. In fact, the Fox engine I've got in the closet here, it's got dual plugs and they're both at different levels. And you use 2.
Oh, really?
So,
is that to ensure combustion or
just a
bit of
design
explosion?
thing? I mean, some Saito engines have dual plugs also, and I don't know that there's any advantage to that, but it's a design thing. I've got a Merco 61 in my closet here too that also has dual plugs.
Interesting. So you need 2 glow igniters or whatever. I just thought it was.
No, you
I've
don't.
never seen anything like it. Oh, you don't?
No, you don't need to. You just have to ignite one of them, and by the catalytic reaction of the combustion will ignite the second one.
Well, son of a mother. Fascinating. I did not know that. I would have been.
It looks
using
like
2
those
igniters.
2 might be at 2 different levels in the head, which might mean that they might be 2 different plugs. One might be a short plug, one might be a long plug. Because I know the Fox one was like that.
It could be very slightly. I'm looking at it.
I couldn't tell. It kind of looked like it when you tilted it up, but I'm not
it's
sure.
not a huge.
That's a really neat.
Yeah, it's seized up. I don't. It's big too. I mean, it's like maybe a 1.2 cubic inch or something.
It looks like that carb looks like a Weber carburetor.
Carburetor looks pretty nice. Yeah, I don't know.
It looks blocky like a Weber carb, or I don't know. That's a tough one.
A couple of things too in the back. You've got this screw. I don't know what's up with that, and it looks like an integrated pump, maybe.
Yeah. Well, the screw is probably just for it to aid with disassembly.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's definitely got a pump on there.
Yeah, so the more I looked at it, I was like, well, this is really interesting.
Yeah, that's a really cool engine.
It's a monster. It probably sucks through fuel like there's no tomorrow. But let's see. How about so this is some stuff I got from a very much older gentleman, but it was really cool. And it's something we really haven't talked about so much. Let me get it. And that is gasoline-powered engines, but really vintage.
Oh wow! Look at that. Yeah.
This is really old spark ignition gasoline. Have you run anything like this before?
I don't do gas at all.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure or not. So, like I said, So I thought I'd pull that
I've had
out.
a couple of those, but they were actually modified to be glow. In fact, I had a couple. I had an Anderson McCoy, I think it was. It was actually the crossover between when it was a gasoline ignition engine, and then they started making it into a glow engine. But no, I don't do gas at all. That looks like a radial.
All right, last one. Yeah, this is something I just got last weekend at an estate sale, and so it wasn't something I was necessarily looking for. But when I saw it and found the price, I said, "Yeah, I got to get it." Excuse the noise. I didn't realize it was, and you're absolutely right. It is a radial.
Is that a 170?
This is a 90, a Saito 90.
Even better. They made a 120 3-cylinder also.
Yeah, and when I saw it was a 90, granted it's a little small, I said, man, that's a cute little bugger. This would be really cool. Glow,
So that's
glow
probably
powered.
what, 3 FA45s engine or
45, 80, that'd be 95. 30s? Did they make a 30 size?
30s, yes, they're 30s. Yeah, they made a 30. They do make a 30s now. Yeah.
Okay, so that would make sense to get 4 30s. And I thought this would be neat. I actually have 1 or 2 planes I think I can put this in. One is half built, a kit, a biplane. I think I can stick it in there.
Just
Or
make sure you put a glow system on there.
so it needs like a at idle kind of thing.
Well, I'm not a fan of 3-cylinder radials at all.
Oh, really?
I don't like the sound of them, and the few I've run, they had issues with one of the cylinders not wanting to continue to fire. So
Right.
I read a lot of stuff about people saying, well, here's how I fix my radial engine running operation. So it's like, and that even kind of sounded like it translated into the 3-cylinder gas engines too. So, I mean, I'm not a fan. I would never own a 3-cylinder radial because I just don't like the sound of them. and they're a pain because if you don't have an ignition system or an ignition harness on there,
Yeah.
you have the chance of one of the cylinders dropping out. And I don't know if it's the number 2 or what, but one of the lower ones, they have issues.
Yeah, you're right. And I know the gas ones had some similar issues with temperature not being consistent with all of
Yep.
them, and some are better than others. But I just, out of curiosity, I'm more of a when I see something interesting, I just want to try it, get my
Well, put it
experience.
this way: if somebody gave me one of those, I'd have no problem with that. But I wouldn't go buy one.
So that's I thought you might get a kick out of that. So I did have another question. Let me grab an engine here to see that always was kind of eluded me. Maybe it's in the manual. I just didn't pay attention. Sorry for the noise. Because we were talking about. So, just as an example, we're gonna kind of jump topics here. So I have the OS 62 and I've got the OS 20, and they have these little vents. Like this is on the side, a little tap, and this was on the rear.
Yep.
I know some of you engines use the rear tap as you could use as a pump, right? I think for pressure. So what's the story? What are these for?
Those are just crankcase vents.
Just a vent.
Companies just put the vent out there so that excess oil that builds up in the crankcase has a way to exit. Because if oil fills up in the crankcase, the engine's not going to run.
Right.
So that's just a vent. That's all.
It's interesting. So the vent is on sort of the crankshaft, and some are in the back end.
Some of them, and they started changing those things because I think people started thinking maybe the cam gears weren't getting enough lubrication. But I mean, I don't understand the rhyme and reason for why they move those vents around, but that's really all it is. It's just, or maybe they figured it was easier for people to vent them out of their cowling if it's closer to the front of the engine.
Interesting.
Now,
can I inject oil into these vents for lubrication?
Absolutely. If there's an orifice in the engine, you inject oil in there. That's where you put your after oil. That is absolutely where you put your after run oil.
Oh, okay, good to know.
There, the glow plug hole, take the exhaust off and put it in the exhaust valve.
Yeah.
I mean, any hole that goes into the engine, that's where you put oil.
We're squirting stuff in there. Oh, fantastic. That's good to know. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. So sometimes the manuals weren't all that specific. So fuel. So you said you don't run straight synthetic. Do you have a certain percentage of castor you like to put in your synthetic, or does it
So
depend on the engine?
I mix my own fuel for the most part. I
Mm,
use a lot of FAI fuel, which is basically just methanol and castor oil. But I do. So that's the thing with fuel is you're really kind of at the mercy of hobby shops and what
yeah.
you've got in your local locally available. Because my hobby shop here locally only sells Morgan's Cool Power or Morgan's Fuel, which is they only sell like 15% castor, which is the Omega castor synthetic, or they sell the Cool Power. And I think I've actually seen the MV multi viscosity green stuff too.
Mm,
But so I mean, you're at the mercy there. So what I do is I'll just buy a gallon of 15% castor synthetic, and I'll just cut it with my FAI, and I usually am running between 5 to 8% nitro, or just straight FAI, depending on the engine.
yeah, I know it's popular in Europe to run FAI zero nitro. It's
Well, a lot of
interesting.
those European engines were designed to run on that.
Ah, yeah. So interesting you mentioned that because as a side thing I do, I don't talk about it too much on my channel, but I actually make fuel, glow fuel,
Mm,
and I sell it. I primarily make it for Cox engines, a special blend because it's hard to find a good Cox
yep,
engine fuel, and
yep.
so I make that. But I can make anything. I have the components, so I have a lot of castor oil. I have some synthetic oil, clot synthetic, and I have nitromethane and methanol. And so I often make fuel for the local guys, local clubs and
Right.
stuff.
Well,
I make it
that
for them.
helps.
Yeah, because I can make whatever they want and usually give them a pretty good price on it versus what they
Yeah.
get at the hobby shop. And so that's why I'm asking sort of the questions: would you like this mix? Because I can just do that. I can just add
Yep.
whatever
Hmm.
for some of my glow engines, and I like the idea of putting a bit of castor even in all synthetic for even some of the newer engines, just for extra
Yep.
lubrication.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah. If you ever need something really weird or special, let me know. I might be able to do it for you.
Yeah, I
Uh,
typically have been getting my methanol from VP.
oh
There's a
yeah.
VP place up here, but the last 5 gallon pail I got, I think I really got raped on the price. It was like $76, and I was like,
Oh,
I
that's
don't,
way high for methanol.
yeah, I don't think it should be that much because when I bought one in Florida, earlier, 4 years, 5 years ago, it was like $39. And a buddy of mine who lives in Oklahoma
Yeah, it's about
said he
right for
bought a
five.
5 gallon pail for $39. And I'm like,
That's
why
about right.
are
Yeah.
these people charging $76 for one? Because that was
Oh
ridiculous.
wow. I had a gentleman. He runs. He does free flight. Looks Cox engine stuff. He says, "Can you make me some 50% nitro fuel?" Like, the what? He's like, "Yeah, 50%." It's like, you don't like your engines?
Yeah,
And he
no
said,
doubt.
"Well," he says, "Well, they only run for about 20 seconds, so I need to get everything I can out of them for 20, 30 seconds, and then that's it." It's like, okay. So, I made him some. He says, "Hey, that's great. Make me some more." It's like, okay,
Wow.
I'm not responsible for you blowing your engines to pieces, but that's pretty cool. But you mentioned FAI. I had a gentleman local. He said he wanted some FAI fuel. And I said, "Oh, what kind of engine you run?" He goes, "Ducted fan." I said, "FAI fuel and glow ducted fan." He goes, "Yes, it actually runs pretty good in the larger engines." And I said, "Well, okay." That's something I had never heard of, but each to his
So
own. If it works, it works.
you probably know this, but so here's my take on FAI and nitromethane. So I look at high nitro fuels as a bicycle with training wheels because the more nitromethane you have in there, the window of tuning is much larger.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as soon as you start reducing the amount of nitromethane and then you eventually get to FAI, all of a sudden your tuning becomes super critical. You have to really be good to get FAI to fly well because the tuning window closes dramatically. So when I'm hearing people say, "Oh, I always fly 20% nitromethane fuel," I'm like, "Oh, it's probably because you don't really know how to tune it."
You keep it on easy mode.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why and nitro fuel is just nitromethane is just stupidly expensive. And
It
when
is
I was
expensive,
really
yeah.
going through it, it's like I'm going to try to do this as economically as possible. And I've got a whole playlist on my channel about called the FAI experiment, where I show how all these different types of engines run perfectly well on FAI fuel, at least on the stand, and whether you can replicate that in the air, I can't say, but they run fine on the stand, so it's possible.
That would be interesting to see just how much difference it makes in some of these engines. It may not be as big a deal for some of the larger engines versus the little Cox things. They're screaming their brains out.
I've actually run Cox engines on 10% nitro.
Oh yeah,
They run just fine. They may not
Yeah.
have the same, peak RPM, but they run.
yeah. That's probably a lot easier on the engine.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's see. So I think I kind of asked this question. The most common problem people have running. How about not? You said I already asked you the most common problem, but what do you have? What do you think is the most common problem people do running the engine? Not necessarily if it's not running, but if it's running, what's the things to look out for?
Maybe they're not understanding the sound or how the engine is behaving, or what I've noticed in a lot of newer ARFs is that the ARFs nowadays that are designed for glow and electric, that's especially the problem ones. Is that the people that are designing those airplanes now don't necessarily take the fuel tank positioning and put it where it's supposed to be. So I think a lot of issues that people have with their glow engines at the field could be related to plumbing or fuel tank issues, and then you throw in their ability to tune an engine also. But I mean, a lot of those newer ARFs have either a tank too high or too low, and it's just because they don't care. They're making a plane that can be glow or electric, and obviously with electric it doesn't make a difference.
That is a good point. I'm going to have to remember that when I build my Tiger Moths. Make sure the tank is in a good spot. It's one of those planes designed for glow and electric, and so the provisions for the glow fuel tank may not be optimal. Yeah, because the tank should be more or less level with the car, right?
Well, the center line of the tank should be roughly level with the center line of the carburetor or the high-speed needle. So they should be like that. And then, of course, you get a tail dragger, and it's okay to have it a little bit different because when it's in the air, it's going to level out.
Right.
So, yeah, that's typically the rule of thumb.
Question, there may be two aspects of this, but your preferred way of breaking in an engine, and there may be difference between a 4-stroke and a 2-stroke and a ringed and that kind of stuff, but getting generalities
between the construction of the engine, whether it's an ABC or a ringed engine. That's the biggest thing. It doesn't matter if it's 4-stroke or 2-stroke. Is it a ringed engine? Well, obviously there aren't any true ABC engines that are 4-strokes anyway. So yes, so there's differences there.
Now, the ring ones generally take longer to break in, correct?
Yeah, typically, but I mean, they have such good tolerances with these machines now that it doesn't really take a whole lot. I mean, and tell me what your definition of a broken in engine is. Because I want anybody in the world to tell me what they define as a broken in engine.
That's a good point. For me, I'm not a perfectionist I don't fret over it too much. So for me, I may run it a little on the rich side for a few flights and then lean it in a bit, and then I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do too. I mean, you start so for a ringed engine, and I've looked at hundreds of manuals, and I've seen this trend. Some they start out saying, "Oh, do this," and then as time goes on, they say, "No, do this." So basically, how I break in a ringed engine, and a lot of OS manuals will say, blubbery ridge for 20 seconds, lean it out another, for another 20 seconds, and back and forth, but you do all of this at full throttle. I typically tend to just say, I'm going to pretend like I'm flying it, and I'll start out kind of rich, but I'll vary the throttle between high and low because I can vary the temperature of the engine because see what they're doing when they're saying break it in at full throttle and then richen it and lean it, they're varying the temperature of the engine, but only doing it at full throttle. Well, you can vary the temperature of the engine by throttle position also and richening and adjusting. So I just do kind of like a hybrid thing, but ringed engines, like especially a good OS engine, a ringed OS engine, 2 or 3 tanks, doing that and then just slightly leaning it every time. But I always use a tachometer. I am a tachometer person.
Interesting.
I can tune by ear, but when you're breaking in an engine, I use the tachometer, period. Because I want to see where is it at, and I want to be able to richen it, 1,000 or whatever RPM or whatever, and then go back and forth.
Interesting. So some time years ago, I was told that breaking in an engine, the first glow plug, don't expect it to last as long as after that, because you get small filings of metal and stuff that can embed itself in the plug. Is that something you've heard yourself?
I've heard it. I've never experienced it. Never. Because again, I think that's one of those things where maybe that came up with people running Fox engines or K&B engines. some of the lesser, quality engines, because a lot of these engine manufacturers like OS, Saito, they make sure their engines are very machined to very high tolerances, and they're cleaned out. I have opened up ASP engines straight out of the box, opened up the rear cover and seen filings in there.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
so there are, some of those engine manufacturers just didn't seem to have the same level of quality control. I see here, King of Court says broken in, says does not overheat under heavy load after a few tanks. I don't understand what does not overheat. Do you have I don't tune by heat, so I don't know. My definition of a broken in engine is, I guess if I were to have one, is that when it's at peak, or not at peak, or then you back it off for flight. If it's at peak throttle for your setting and it maintains that high peak RPM and never drops and is always consistent. Because like on a new engine, you might get a peak RPM and then it may start to drop down a little bit and then you have to retune it or whatever. So a broken in engine is one that will maintain a peak, not the maximum RPM, but the peak flying RPM, because you always tune it to peak and then you richen it. The peak RPM on the ground, that it's stable and it stays consistent and it doesn't waver around. That would be my best definition of a broken in engine, but I don't. Somebody made a comment on a video on another RC channel and they're like, you need to get rid of and they were not talking to me, they were talking to somebody else. They were saying you need to use a temp gauge or a thermometer instead of a tachometer to tune your engine. I'm like, okay, what universe is that from?
Yeah, I never heard that before. I mean,
that's what
overheat,
RC car guys do. I mean,
really?
The RC car guys do that because their engines are enclosed
in
these chassis, in these plastic chassis. So, I mean, it's more important that you do that. And typically when they do that, they're pointing it right down at the glow plug. But, I mean, if you're in an airplane or on the stand, where are you supposed to point the thermometer at? And how do you know what the right temperature should be? What's your guideline for an engine that's too hot?
Yeah. I think
if your guideline for an engine that's too hot is one that's seized up, then you definitely are killing the engine. So I mean, there's no guideline there, but a tachometer and an engine will spin a certain size prop is a valid way to tune engines, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, the only way to do it.
So one thing, glow plugs. That's probably a whole can of worms on that. I know the OS, number 8, and I think there was a Fox one that was popular too for a while. Do you have any general thoughts on glow plugs? I guess obviously probably what the manufacturer recommends, but spray bar versus no spray bar, and
you mean idle bar? No.
Idle bar. Excuse me.
No modern engine in the last 30 years needs an idle bar. I mean, an idle bar was designed for prior to the Schnurley ported engines that, were cross flow scavenged, and they didn't have, they tend to have a lot of excess fuel in the chamber when they're at low speed, and that's where the idle bar came from. But I mean, as far as glow plugs goes, my favorites, whatever's available, because honestly, it's like fuel. I mean, it's not like there's a ton of things out there. So when you go find like a sleeve of Inya plugs, buy them.
Yeah. I do that on occasion. If I see a bunch of them, the only thing that gives me pause sometimes if they're an odd number or something.
I would not buy glow plugs from Hobby King.
No. Have bad luck with those?
Well, they're cheap crap.
But if I'm at a swap meet and I see OS number 6s or something like that, I'm like, I know the 8s are popular. What am I going to get wrong with the 6 or a cold plug versus a hot plug?
A 6 is an A3, which is good for use for FAI fuel because they're hotter plugs. But so I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of Chinese manufacturers out there making counterfeit OS A3 and plugs, and I have a whole video on that too. And it's actually on the OS website. And you go to the OS website, you have to do a little bit of digging, but they're like, beware of these plugs. And you can tell by looking at the plug where it's made, because and they're not made to the same level. They're not made to the same specifications as OS plugs, and they're outright lying on their packaging, because they're saying made in Japan.
Oh, wow.
They're laser engraving
Wow.
letters in the OS stuff on there, and the elements are not the same material. They may operate for a while, but they're not OS plugs. And if you see an OS number 8 plug or an A3 plug being sold for $7, stay away from it.
Oh, that's good,
An
good
OS
to know.
plug nowadays is going to cost you $12 to $14.
Wow. You just full information. That's counterfeit plugs. I would not have thought that would be even a business big enough to even do that kind of stuff. But wow. So, okay, I'll buy directly from OS or keep the swap meet. So you recommend, so if I'm at a swap meet and I see just a what do you want to call it? What did you call it? A rack? Not a rack. A bunch of glow plugs on a card of plugs.
Oh, yeah.
Just grab them, no matter what they are.
I'd say if you go to a swap meet, just have a big wad of cash. And when you see a whole bunch of glow engines for sale, just buy them. Just do it.
I've already got a huge box of glow engines. That's only part of the collection. I only picked out the ones I thought were more interesting.
So glow plugs are getting to be almost like glow fuel. They're getting to be very hard to find. You can't find good ones. So if you can ever find any Inya plugs or OS F plugs or OS number real OS 8s, I'm low on OS 8 plugs right now, super low. I'm like dangerously low. I've got a whole bunch of others, but I mean, I went to Hobbytown, USA here locally, and they had some like old Fox plugs they probably were like 25 years old. They had marks on like $2, and I'm like, give me all of those Fox plugs. I don't care. If you've got a $2 glow plug that's a Fox plug, I'll take it.
Yeah.
All day long, because Fox made good plugs.
Yeah, I remember for some reason they were real popular. They were, I never really was a huge fan of the Fox engines, but the plugs generally were pretty good.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay, I'll keep remember that. Maybe I'll start next swap meet. I'll just take the glow plugs out of the engine. Say, how much for the glow plug?
Just take the engine too, and they'll say, "Hey, you pay for the glow plug. We'll throw in the engine."
Yeah. In fact, I ran across a video you had on how to, especially if you're buying engines online, how to sort of inspect them to see if you're getting a good deal and look for things to look for when buying a used engine. I thought that was pretty neat. But you spent mostly, you were talking on online stuff, but if you're at a swap meet, what's some of the things you do if you have the engine in your hand and you want to buy it that you look for?
Exactly the same thing. You look at all the fasteners first, and if
those fastener
heads are stripped out, drop it, unless you really like to drill fasteners out. But I mean, you can tell by general feel, condition of an engine. I mean, sure, most engines might be locked up and it's like, fine, I got a heat gun and oil, big deal, because a lot of people that got into the hobby and didn't stay in it very long, they're like, oh, my engine's locked up, it must be bad. A lot of people would go to that route and assume that all of a sudden their engine's destroyed, and it's like, oh, then you can find diamonds in the rough.
Speaking of that, so just the other day, a coworker of mine pinged me and says, hey, I'm picking up this airplane. It's a Piper Cub, I think he said quarter scale, and it's got a OS, the 120 twin 4-stroke in it. And he says he thinks it's never been run, but it's in the airplane, so I mean, take that with a grain of salt. And he's looking at getting it flying again. And he's kind of coming back into the hobby, and he knows that I do a lot of stuff, me and another guy. And so and I said, sure, yeah, we can get some fuel in and run it. But before I run it, what should I do? This guy brings a plane over with an engine he says never run, may or may not. What would you recommend I do before throwing fuel in it and trying to run it? What would I
check
what's
to
the
see
first steps?
If both cylinders have compression. And you should be able to feel that. Otherwise, pull each plug out individually and see if they have compression, see if it feels about the same, and then just kind of rotate it through and see, does it feel notchy? Do the bearing, because if it's an OS twin and it's never been run, truly never been run, it will be smooth as silk.
Okay.
If you feel the slightest bit of tightness or notchiness, it's been run, period.
Okay.
Because OS, I've had so many brand new OS engines that were over 30 years old, brand new out of the box, and they're perfect. Silky smooth. And somebody's like, oh, this is a new engine. I pull out. I was like, no, it's not. It's been because OS will never ever let an engine leave their factory and I don't know what they do, but their engines will last for 30 or 40 years in a box and still be perfectly silky smooth.
Wow. Yeah, I think he says about 30 years old. So
here's the other thing with the 120. It's the 120 Gemini.
Yes, Gemini, as a matter of fact.
Versions of them.
Yeah.
And that could be tougher to tell for me to explain to you how to tell, but the early generation versions had an issue with the connecting rods where the material was not super strong and they had a tendency to bend or break.
Ooh.
Primarily bend. And that was the generation 1 OS 120 Gemini. And you can kind of tell if you look underneath it, the intake manifolds kind of come down at more of a triangular shape from the carb to the intake, whereas I think on the more modern ones it's more straight. And I think the original one may have had an air bleed carb, and the second generation has a twin needle carb. So I mean, there's some things there, but so if it's one of those early ones, they're worth a little bit more. But I mean, they have a possibility of overtime or misuse, not tuning right or whatever. I don't know what would cause it, detonation maybe or something, to bend a connecting rod, and then you're pretty much, you're kind of in a bad spot then.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll look for that. That's interesting. I look forward to it. It should run. It should.
I've actually got. I
don't
have it. I don't have access to it now, but I've got a bent connecting rod.
Is there any significance to the two engines behind you on the wall?
So these are engines. They're OSFS 26 Surpass, and these were from a buddy of mine, Norbert. He lives in, I think, Stuttgart, Germany, and he's got a website called Kedicted where he does these renderings for a lot of different engines and stuff. And the link to his website is on the description of all my videos. So he sent me some of these renderings. I made a couple of videos showing his work, and he's really talented with doing these renderings. They're beautiful. I mean, they're artwork, really.
Yeah, they look really nice. So we've had some questions in the chat. Do you mind if we go through the chat a little bit to see what?
Let's do it.
All right. So let's see. Audio sub. Somebody looks like you got a new sub from Rez.
Cool.
Let's see.
Thank you.
It's not really a question. Interesting statement. It says backflipping the prop against compression is the only safe way to hand start a Glow engine. Let it bounce off the compression. Do you do it that way, or have you ever done that?
Yeah, I have done it. Not every engine will do that. It depends on the engine. It has to have a really strong compression, and the larger engines do it a lot better. But yeah, I've done it both ways, and a lot of times those, if they got a spinner on there, you just kind of go, just flip it real quick with the spinner. But
did you ever see the video of some guy was trying to start his glow powered plane with his foot and kicked the whole front end off the blade?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was safe, but it didn't work. Let's see another one. I think you kind of answered this question. It says your fuel choices. You sort of kind of take what's off the shelf and add your own stuff.
My own, yep.
Yeah. Let's see. My favorite. This is interesting. Another statement. Guy of my way invented stuff called Nutcracker, and it uses it like a charm on anything that's seized up. Ever heard of that?
No.
Interesting. Well, if he has a website, Robert, you can throw it in the chat. Let's see. Somebody talks about Bristol's Ballistol smells really bad.
I don't think it smells that bad. It definitely has a different, in fact, it's so safe. I think it's basically mineral spirits, but I mean, the Germans would even use it as a wound dressing.
Oh, wow. Interesting. And it keeps squirrels away, apparently.
I don't have any idea about that.
Let's see, Zeb. Also, if you're listening, if you have any questions, go ahead, throw them in the chat as I go down here. Yeah, yours, my buddy Lee. This is the person that recommended me to
Okay.
contact you, Lee. He says K&B was arch enemy. I never had a problem. I've played with K&Bs. I've always gotten to run okay.
Well, so K&B made really incredible pylon engines and competition engines, and it was really with the Sportster series where they started breaking out and making sport type
that's right. Yeah, they came out with a low cost engine that was not so great, right?
Well, no, the Sportster engines I think initially they may have been hit or miss. In fact, when I got into the hobby, my next door neighbor bought a K&B 20 Sportster, and I went with the OS 40 FP. So, I mean, but he had great success with that engine. I mean, you know, they're nice engines. I've got a brand new K&B 65 Sportster up in the closet here.
We had, back in school, we did you ever heard of the SAE Aero Design? Colleges build model airplanes to do lift as much weight as they can, another task. And at the time, before they're all electric now, but at the time they were still using Glow. And they mandated you had to use the K&B engine. At least one of the classes was a K&B 40 or something, or 60. It was like one engine for whatever. Yeah. And we had what we call advanced class, which was a larger plane, and we could use multiple engines. And I think we used 3 or 4 K&Bs in a pusher configuration with Perry carbs. It was a giant flying wing. It had like a 16-foot wingspan. And I was specifically asked to join the team because they couldn't get the engines tuned in running. They didn't know anything about model airplanes, and I did. Right. And I got those suckers running, all 4 of them, or 3 of them. Was it 3 or 4?
Well, so you've had good luck with K&B then?
Yeah. I have nothing against K&B. I was a little disappointed. We were at a fly-in, and there was a somebody had they were trying to sell, it's like a silent auction, and it was a K&B Outrunner boat engine. You know, remember the old 21s, 3.5 cc, I think? It was really neat. I always kind of wanted one. It was on a half-built boat, and I bid on it, but I got outbid, and I was like, oh man, I kind of wanted that just to play with it because that would look really neat.
I just traded for one of those. I traded mine that I had for another engine.
Oh, did you? Oh man, I got you too late. Let's see. Somebody says OS 120FX was the king of the quarter scale 3D when it came out. Wow.
160FX engines are incredible.
Really?
You know, the FX series, I've got a 91 FX, I think, and that's an awesome engine. And I've had several, I've run several 160s, and they're incredible.
My other thing is when you start getting that big, they go through fuel. They start sucking fuel pretty good.
Yeah, and that's a good one for backflipping too.
Oh yeah, the backflip start.
Yep.
Here's Lee again saying, giving you a nod for tuning his FA45. So you showed at least one person.
FA45 right here. Look at this.
Oh, look at that.
One of a kind, only one in the world that has this color on it.
Custom. Oh, you got it. Oh, custom. Yeah. You have somebody that can recolor the engines?
Yes.
So I think I saw a video you just produced on that. That's neat. I wonder if you can do bright yellow. Just kidding. Let's see. Somebody else said they liked your video on tuning air bleed and twin needle valve engines. That I've never done. That's got to be fun. 2 needle valves?
What do you mean? Yes. So, yeah, you have. So you've got 2 different styles of carbs. You've got air bleed carbs and you've got twin needle valves. And,
okay. Yeah.
And so you're a big Enya guy, and Enyas are all air bleed carbs.
I was thinking a twin engine with 2 needle valves. That's my brain was off somewhere else in hyperspace.
Or a twin cylinder with 2 carbs. Yeah.
But he's probably talking about, like you said, one carb that has air bleed and the high end, low end needle, something like that.
So tuning a two carb engine like a Saito 90T, it's got 2 carbs, 2 high speed needles. Simple. Let me make it simple for everybody. What you do is you set both of them to the same setting initially, like 2 turns out from full. Get it running. Choose one cylinder to tune it to peak, back it off. Go to the other one. Tune it to peak, back it off. Boom, you're done.
And you can hear that while it's running?
And then once you establish the good running RPM for each carb. So you can't really go by the RPM when you're tuning one. You have to do it by ear. So you tune the first cylinder, peak, and then you go back 500 off or so, peak, 500 off. And then from that point on, any adjustments you make, once you found the good setting, any adjustments you make to both of them. But there was a misconception that someone had on one of my videos that says you always have to keep the needles at the same spot, which is not true.
No,
you might start with them at the same spot and then you tune it, but then once you get them tuned, any subsequent adjustments you make, you do want to keep them. If you have a good tune, you want to keep it. You don't want to do this kind of thing with it because then you're going to start losing cylinders and stuff like that. So you want to keep it. Once you establish the tune, then you start counting clicks then. You're rich in this one, you're rich in this one then.
It's kind of an iterative process. That's interesting. I want to try that. Let's see. R. Smith says, what's the score of pericarbs? Are they any good? Worse than swapping at swap meets?
I don't care for carbs at all.
Oh, yeah? Oh, interesting.
I've had about 7 or 8 of them, and I've disliked every one of them.
Okay, so no. You see what a swap meet.
The thing is, they must work because Perry still makes them.
Really? There's still business?
They still make
Holy
them.
crap.
You can still buy them. So I mean, they're thinking that, hey, we're the only game in town. Now you have to buy us. But I've never cared for Perry carbs one bit.
They seem to be the go-to for the the name was on it. We were just talking about those engines. The
K&B.
K&B, yes. I never really heard them used on anything else other than K&B engines.
So the thing I don't like about Perry carbs is the low-speed mixture is just this little disc, and it's really hard to get on there and make an adjustment with because sometimes those openings can get super tight. Yeah. And when your hand is that close to a spinning knife, and if you tend to flip off of it, I mean, I think Perry carbs, they might work, but I think they're dangerous.
Yeah, that little wheel adjustment thing you're talking about on the side, it's always a little weird.
That's a no. I don't like that.
Here's Perky Plays the Planes, giving a shout out to you for all your hard work. Let's see. I think there's a few, 2 better than one.
That's some of my crew coming in here.
Big. Not a fan of radios. I thought I had some more questions here. I'm scrolling down. Interesting. We were talking about the fuel. The gentleman has a Moki 2 that will not run anything other than FAI.
They are designed to run on FAI fuel, period. I mean, they will run on nitro, and I think I might have tried that because I had a 210. I currently have a 180. But yeah, I mean, they like FAI fuel.
And Mokis are Europe, I think, Eastern Europe?
They're somewhere in Europe. I can't recall if they're Austrian or where they're made, but they're very high quality engines. Very, very good engines. Love them. They like to drink.
It's funny, the Mokis I usually see here are the multi-cylinder ones.
Yep.
The big ones that if you have to ask how much you can't afford it kind of engines. But they sound great. They really sound really cool in the air.
Oh, yeah.
I do have another question. Where is it? Here it is. Glow driver. I think you touched on this earlier. Your thoughts. Onboard glow drivers, that is.
If you are running a twin-cylinder engine, I would highly recommend it. Because some engines tend to want to, if you don't have it tuned right and you try to get it to idle too low, sometimes they'll drop a cylinder and may not want to come back. The only drawback to onboard glow systems is it's typically a separate battery. They add a little bit of weight. They add a lot of confidence and a lot of reliability. But yeah, there are some applications where it's really required. Like when I had the OS 320 Pegasus, the 4-cylinder engine, you pretty much needed to have a onboard glow system for that. And I would recommend it for just about any twin-cylinder engine, really.
Interesting.
I've never ever had a need for one on a single-cylinder engine, period. That's just a waste of time and money.
I've never run on a single, but I've seen people run other ones, but I never run a glow multi-cylinder. So that Saito would be my first multi-cylinder glow that I've ever run. So I will take your advice and put a glow driver on it, onboard glow driver. Oh, somebody's asking about the kitty. Do you still have a kitty? A cat?
Where's Sasha? He was laying here. Yeah, Sasha's around. It's bedtime for her. I guess she got bored of listening to me talk, so she's left. We've been lucky that we didn't get to hear her scratching in the cat box because it's like 10 feet away from me.
Okay, here's an interesting question. I've seen some larger 2 cycles run better on an F-type plug.
You know,
Why
I've
is that?
never done that before, but then just like in the last month or so, somebody said, I think it was maybe it was a Moki. They're like, try an OSF plug, and they're like, really? What? And it ran well. So I don't.
Interesting.
And the only thing I can think about why would be that they have a longer, in piece, and maybe it just retains heat more.
Yeah, more.
That's typically what's important for a 4-stroke engine, because you're only combusting every fourth revolution or whatever, so it needs to retain the heat.
More thermal mass. I think that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. But I mean, one of those things if you have an engine, and I found this recently, this is something that only came to me in like the last 2 years of all the time I've been in the hobby, is that you have an engine that's running like garbage, and you're always like, well, I've always run this plug in this engine. I've always run this plug in this size engine or whatever. Change the plug. Try something different, because I've had engines just in the last month that ran like garbage. And I'm like, well, I thought I'd use this Fox short plug, because this Fox short plug I used in that other 40 size engine or whatever ran great. It loved it. And then I changed to an OS8 or vice versa, and all of a sudden the engine just lights up totally. In fact, it was the Aviastar 46 engine, I think it was, that I just did. And I think I started off running that thing with a Fox RC short plug, which is typically very comparable to an OS8 number 8, and it ran well. Those plugs would run well on another handful of engines, and I put it in that thing, and that thing just hated it. And I put an OS8 plug in there, and it gained 1,500 RPM.
Holy moly!
And it's just sounded. I'm happy now. So if you have an engine that is just running like garbage and you haven't changed the plug, I mean, try changing to a different plug, because it's amazing that I'm seeing lately that certain engines just don't like certain plugs.
Interesting.
And one of the things I think is so weird is that the review, there's a review site that's monitored or created by some folks in Australia. I can't remember their names, but it's like the Scepter Flight. There's one main site on the web where you can go to find old scanned reviews of engine reviews, and I look at that all the time. But the thing that I always think is interesting is whenever you read those engine reviews from either Peter Chin or Clarence Lee, they never, ever, seldom, I don't think I've ever seen Clarence Lee say, well, here's the plug I used. He'll say, I used this plug or this fuel, and I ran and broke it in for 30 minutes and did this and this, but he never says what plug he's using. It's like, that's kind of an important piece of information. I just find it interesting that all the engine reviews I've read, I don't know that I've ever seen more than maybe 2.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
What kind of plug they run.
Yeah, it seems to be a key thing, because, like you said, there's so much variation. You got long plugs, short plugs, different manufacturers, different temperatures, all kinds of variations.
Yep.
Wow. Interesting. Let's see. You got a kudos from Ron Lund.
Hey, Ron.
Ron Lund. The name sounds familiar.
How's it in Alaska right now?
Alaska. I hear it's nice this time of year. So he's giving you kudos. Totally educating 100 hour produce engines to the max. Yeah, so I'm hoping people watching this, if you ever want to take your hand at Glow Engines, if you've ever done it before, just out of curiosity, because they are kind of fun to tinker with. Hopefully you learn some stuff, or go over to David's channel. I posted it in the chat several times, and he's got whatever engine you have. I think you've reviewed it.
Well, so I've found that if you just type in the name of an engine in Google and do a search, that you're probably going to hit my channel at least once or twice.
Yeah, because I was pulling engines. I was like, I wonder if he's done this engine. I said, yeah. Okay, well, what about this engine? I was like, this is an oddball engine. How about this one? You have a video on it. It's like,
So I'm always looking for those engines that I haven't run yet.
Yeah, speaking of that, here's a good segue into this one. YS 120s. Now, I've never had a YS. Your thoughts on?
Well, so what? Yeah, I've had YS engines. I've had several YS 120s. I had 140s and the 63, the 53, and they are very technical engines. They're not for beginners at all. You need to be at least an intermediate or advanced glow engine operator, in my opinion. It's just my opinion, to operate one of these things optimally. And I would stay away like the plague from any used YS engine, because I've had several used YS engines, and it was because the people didn't have a clue what they were doing.
Wow. And so they mess them up somehow?
Yeah, they're very, very high tolerance or very close tolerance engines, and they are very susceptible to misuse and abuse, and parts are very hard to come by, and they're very expensive. I don't even service YS engines.
Oh, wow.
Won't do it unless somebody's willing to pay a premium and they're going to go out and find the parts for me. Because they're, no, I've had my fun. You go look at my YS videos. I've had some good ones. I've had some pretty stinkers. But I mean, if you get a new YS engine and you know how to run it, they'll last a long time, and they're incredibly powerful. They're really super cool engines. But you got to get them new. I wouldn't trust a used one for anything.
Were they the ones that had like a supercharged engine?
Well, yeah. So yeah, that, and they also like to think or call them supercharged, but they're really not. They're or turbocharged or whatever. But they have a pressurized fuel system, so it's kind of like a fuel injection. But they have most of them have like a fuel regulator, and then they'll have, instead of a barrel throttle, they'll have a butterfly throttle. So because it has to use a pressurized fuel system. So the plumbing setup is very different. They have to have a check valve.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You got to use a check valve. So the check valve keeps pressure in the tank, and they'll build up to, I don't know, 4 or 5 PSI.
Wow.
So if you pull off the wrong line, you're going to see a fuel going out.
So you reminded me, the friend of mine, same friend who gave me that Fox engine, he used to love to run pressurized fuel tanks, like the balloon. He's like a balloon within a balloon thing, and he'd have hemostats. It seems like too much of a production to get the thing running, but he just loved doing that. Have you ever done that?
No.
I don't blame you. It didn't look like it was fun, but he liked screaming engines, and he thought maybe he'd give him he could squeeze more fuel in the engine and get it running faster or something. We had a question about a prop. I understand if you can't answer this one. It's sort of, this is OS 108 FSR and a Warbird.
So
any thoughts on that?
I have a brand new, well, not new. I just got that 108 FSR is what I traded my KMB 3.5 out. So I got that. So you can't answer that question. It's not a question that can be answered. What do you mean best? Best by what? Best peak RPM, best idle, best transition, best for a high wing plane, best for a low wing plane. I mean, there is no best. When it comes to props, the best thing is to experiment. And you experiment and you determine the best prop for your particular airplane based on how you like to fly and the type of airplane it is, whether it's a high wing or a low wing, whether you want to fly fast or slower. I mean, so there is no best.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of that, matching the prop to the airframe.
Yes.
Because one prop is not fit all.
When he says a Warbird.
Oh, right.
So, it depends on the wing loading. And, this is when you start to say, well, how much does the plane weigh and what's the static thrust? So here's where I would say, I used to have a static thrust setup on my bench that I would run static thrust. And it was one of those things that was really hard to maintain. It wasn't super popular. I thought it would be interesting, and it really didn't gain a whole lot of momentum. But this is one of those instances where you would say, I want to know what, and this is how I would select a prop. I would select a prop by, well, this plane weighs 20 pounds. I want to at least have an engine that's going to produce at least 25 pounds of thrust, or maybe, I don't know, maybe that's too much, maybe 17 pounds. Because if it's a 1-to-1, then in theory, that means if it's 1-to-1, if it's a plane weighs 20 pounds, and you have 20 pounds of thrust, in theory, it says you can fly vertically unlimited. Well, Warbirds don't do that, but you want to have a margin of error unless you're really an expert pilot, because Warbirds typically tend to have high wing loadings, and they don't like to fly slow, and they
No.
don't like to come in real slow for full stall landings unless you like rebuilding them.
It's funny. I was at a fly-in. The guy had a P-51. I think a twin cylinder. It was gas powered, but he had a really small but really high pitched prop on it. And so, taking off, it's kind of doggish. But once you got on step, it was pretty fast. But he was really trying to wind that engine up. And so that was a case where he was using a very unorthodox prop on his plane for a very specific reason. So, your mileage may vary on.
That's a great question, but it's so complicated. That's just a complicated question.
Yeah. This is not an easy answer. So if somebody wants to send you a mail or have an engine sent to you or something, how's the best way to contact you?
So every YouTube creator, if you go to the About screen, you can click on, I've got a link in all of my videos that says how to contact me, and it's the same thing with UFITs. Exactly the same way. You go to the About screen, you say see email, you click on that, you have to do some kind of CAPTCHA thing, and then boom, the email appears. So that's how you do it. But I've got a video that shows you how to do that. So
cool. Any thoughts on a Saito 150 versus Saito 180? You didn't say what it was for. Yeah, I know this is another open-ended question.
So those are two scary engines. Those like to bite, and the 180 is probably one of the scariest single-cylinder engines I've ever run.
That's a big mother, isn't it?
Well, it's big, but see, here's the thing with the 180 is it doesn't, and the 150, if it's a 150S, especially be careful with it. I think they detuned the 150s, but when it first came out as a 150S, and it liked to detonate, and if you over primed it, watch out.
I think I have a Saito 150 in an airplane.
So the 180, but see, here's the thing is I've got a 220, and that engine is a pussycat. You lean that thing out too much, and what does it do? It just stops. You lean out a 150 too much, and then what's it going to do? It's going to throw that prop and go make a huge noise and throw that prop. I mean, I've got a video on there showing the 150 detonating, and it's not pleasant.
Wow.
So, I mean, those are so here's a 150. This is a 150 that was on loan to me from my buddy Harvey right now. We're trying to figure out what I have to do to own this particular 150, and this is a beautiful engine.
Yeah,
I really want to run it, but they're kind of frightening. The 120 doesn't seem to be as bad, and the 220 are real pussycats. But when you get to the 150 and the 180, they're a little finicky.
Interesting. So it's funny you mentioned that because I got a plane with a Saito engine in it. I think it was either the 120 or 150, and my first Saito engine I've ever run, and it ran, but it was trying to tear itself apart at idle or near idle.
Sounds like an FA100.
Yeah. Well, it turned out, I did some research. Turned out if you richen them too much on the low end, they run really, really rough and really bad on the low end. You have to make sure your low end is leaned out enough for it to settle down and sound right. Otherwise, it literally sounded like it wanted to tear itself apart. Yeah. It was the weirdest thing.
Yep.
But other than that, after that, it ran really nice. Looks like kind of get to the end here. Somebody smashed the. Phil says appreciates the chat. Ron Lynn says he's got some engines for real cheap. YS50. So they made smaller ones.
Yeah, well, so the YS50 ST was actually designed as a helicopter engine. And
that's right.
I
Yeah.
swapped with Ron is actually got a prop hub on it. I just haven't gotten around to running. I'm not going to get around to running that engine this year. It's just now the weather here is getting too cold and it's getting tough.
Yeah, because you're up in Wisconsin?
Oshkosh.
Oshkosh. Oh, man. So occasionally I go up to Oshkosh to the AirVenture event. My buddy Terry lives up in Green Bay.
Oh, you'll have to stop by. I live literally 1 mile from Whitman Field.
Really? Oh, definitely. So, yeah, next time we're up there, maybe next year, there's a good chance we might go up there. We'll definitely get together and say hello and maybe whip out some engines and get some learning on me. That's awesome. Yeah, helicopters, RC helicopters briefly experimented with four-stroke engines. I remember that for about 2 seconds. Uh, it seemed like an interesting idea, but I think the heli guys wanted a lot more power than the four-strokes would give
Oh
them.
yeah.
Yeah, and it just, unless you're running a scale, maybe putt, they just didn't. They weren't worth the effort. I think the last comment here, Saito 118 St. Brown's always. Oh, okay, he's just making that kind of comment. That kind of makes a difference. Yeah, that's an interesting point about how you always had to size a four-stroke a little higher than a two-stroke, I guess, to get the equivalent power. It seemed to be the rule of thumb. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. You know, if you
That was something that, obviously they generate. So maybe people don't understand this, that four strokes and two strokes generate power differently. A two-stroke engine creates its peak power at peak RPM. A four-stroke does not create peak power at peak RPM, peak torque. So the power curves for a four-stroke engine and a two-stroke engine are very different. You don't go tweaking out. You don't try to run a four-stroke at peak RPM and think you're going to get peak power, because it drops off. You have to get on the top of the curve there, and it's usually a lot lower RPM. But two strokes are basically it's more linear. I mean, obviously they'll taper off at some point when they go too lean. But it's just it's a basic understanding of how these two engine types make power.
Is that also the reason why four strokes typically run a larger prop size for their size?
Yes.
Versus a two-stroke.
Yeah, because you don't want to turn super high RPMs with them. You want to turn, it's more torque and prop wash, really.
Makes sense. Man, this has been a great session. We're kind of up on the top of the hour, so I'll probably look to wrap things up. It looks like we're at the end of all the questions. We'll give a minute or two if somebody else has the last question in there. But I really want to thank you for joining me tonight. You've been, man, a walking encyclopedia of knowledge. And as long as I've been in the hobby, I'm still learning stuff on these wonderful engines.
That's why it's fun.
Yeah, yes. And like you, I like tweaking on them on occasion. I do fly other stuff, but it is neat, to get a glow engine running, to kind of tweak it out, experiment with stuff. Especially, like I said, the four strokes have really fascinated me lately, and that part of the hobby. As it's still kind of new to me. Maybe that's why.
So that FS20 you got is also a gem. Do not ever get rid of that.
Really?
Those are highly sought after.
Wow. I guess they're not made anymore?
No. That hasn't been made in probably 25 years or more.
Wow, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Also, the Surpass series, they stopped making that 20 probably in 98.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah.
Oh, here's Sasha. Hey, Sasha. Come here, Sasha. Let me show you on the camera here. I don't know if she's wanting to do that. So one of the questions that I did not get that I was kind of surprised by is that nobody asked if I ever have dabbled in electrics. And the answer is I have. I actually converted a SIG. One of my favorite airplanes of all time was the SIG something extra. One of the best engineered built balsa kits ever, laser cut, one of the best. So I had that. I flew that. I had several of them. Flew them with two strokes, four strokes, and then about 12 years ago, I was like, you know what? Let me try this electric thing, and I converted that to an electric motor, and did all that stuff. Did a little bit of learning on it. I hated it. I like to. First of all, when I'm flying, I like to be able to hear my engine. Yeah. I like to be able to see the smoke trail. And that's why this may really bother some people, but the advent of a lot of electrics is one of the reasons that I don't fly anymore. Because I don't like flying with people when I can't hear the other engine. And I don't like flying with people that fly 3D.
All right.
Ridiculous, because
I understand the 3D, but
because what I do when I fly, the only way I really enjoyed flying was just doing touch and goes. So I'm constantly pattern and landing, and if there's somebody doing 3D there, it's like I'm going to cut you in half because that's a helicopter. Go someplace else. I don't care for 3D. Sorry if I'm offending people, but sorry, I don't.
I understand. It's always been a contentious thing. I actually know somebody who has I think it was a decal or something, and it shows a P-51 shooting down a 3D plane. He goes, "Not in my pattern." He says that.
Yeah.
But interesting thing about the smoke. There's a club member of mine. He has a really great B-24 with 4 glow 4-strokes. I don't remember what they are. I think they may be Saito's. Saito 60s or something, and it does leave a nice smoke trail as he's flying from all the engines. That's really, really neat to see it as he's flying.
The exhaust trail tells you a lot about how well your engine is tuned also.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, so if you're flying at full throttle and you're not seeing anything out, you're just like, it's a little lean. I mean, I'm flying great, but it's like, how long is it going to continue to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, it'll do it for a while until you kill it and blow a bearing, and then you're done. Trust me, I've done it before. Early in my early days, I blew an engine up by trying to run it too lean.
I think we've all been there. I think every ducted fan person's done that. But yeah, it has a neat sound too, because I do fly a lot of electric. I probably fly mostly electric, and then gas powered is a close second, and the glow stuff is more occasional now. I don't do it a lot, but I pull it out of roofs a while. I pull out some of my Cox planes, especially, run them up and stuff. But like I said, I've got that 4-stroke 60 I'm going to put in the plane. But it is neat as a big bomber. I have an a bomber electric one and a multi-engine Constellation, and it's still neat. But it also is neat to hear 4 glow engines spooling up, running together. Really distinctive sound.
I don't think I would want to try and get 4 engines running.
No, he does it.
A lot of work.
He does it.
If you're going to start on this side of the plane, you better have a larger fuel tank than you do over here.
It's a production. He'll start them up and he'll tack them, and then he'll make sure they're running and stuff. Oh, you'll get a kick out of this. There was a guy at the Small Steps again. He had 3 049 engines on a pod on his glider thing. It was a weird looking thing. Wow. And they had the tanks on behind the engine, so it wasn't like a regular fuel tank. It was just a tank mount thing. And so he'd start one and get it running. He'd start the other one and get it running. And by the time we get to the third one and got it running, he'd have to go and fill up the first one as it's running. And work his way back across again.
So he never flew. He just kept running engines.
Oh, no, it flew, but it was so draggy and stuff that he might have just kept one engine running, because the 3 didn't seem to do any advantage. It's like the performance of 3 engines is not better than just one, but it was still funny.
That's kind of one of those things where that concept might have come into my thought before I even put the effort into doing that. that wasn't going to work well.
Yeah, it was just hilarious. So anyways, I think we've been going for a while. I think Lee just had one real quick thing. So yes, Lee's my traveling buddy, Yar Smythe, and so we are planning to go to Oshkosh next year. So cool. Hopefully we can squeeze out some time and say hello, since you're real close, and talk engines. There's Mike's plane. Should be time. Oh, I'm getting some messages I don't know. Again, this is David from David's. I'm going to mess up your name again. Engine Stuff. What do you call it? I put it in the chat.
David Stuff.
David Stuff. Excuse me. The Glow Engine Enthusiast. I put the link in the chat. Again, I've been posting your links quite a few times throughout the thing, so you should be able to see it in the chat. Give him a look. He's got all kinds of cool videos of whatever engine you can think of, practically. I had a hard time trying to find one that I had you had not at some point in your huge inventory of videos and tinkered with at some point. So that's great. It's funny to see your garb change a little bit. You'd have a bandana, then you have a regular cowboy hat or whatever, or hat. So you do a lot of engine running in your yard, it looks like? Or it looks like there's another area that you were at one point.
That was in Florida. When I ran my engines in Florida, yeah, I did it in my front yard, and I'm sure all of my neighbors hated me.
That was my next question. Yeah. But now you get some side eye for your neighbors.
And I go to I go to my partner's house and run out there. So.
Oh, cool. All right. So yeah, I run some stuff in my backyard, but I keep it limited to normal hours and short runs, so I don't upset the neighbors too much. Um, instead of when I'm not going out to the field. All right. Well, any last thoughts before I head off?
I don't have any other than thank you very much for this opportunity to talk Glow engines, because I love talking about engines.
I see. That's great. So yeah, we'll keep in touch, and I'm a subscriber too. So whatever video you pop out, I'll be looking at them. So
Cool.
thanks so much for all the work you've done on keeping Glow alive. Keep Glow alive. Keep Glow alive. Again, if you even have a passing interest in Glow engines, check out his channel. He's got all kinds of cool stuff where he sets up engines, disassembles the engines. That's some soft porn right there. Where you take apart an engine, especially the 4-strokes and stuff, and look inside. Especially when you did the HP one. That was really interesting to see what that looked like inside. Because I was wondering, so how does that sleeve valve work?
That's a simple engine too.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it until you look at it. It's like, yeah, that's not too bad.
Yep.
So thanks again for everything, for your time. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll cross paths in the not too distant future.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Fitz, and thank you all for watching.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining in and the great questions. And we will see you later. Hopefully this will be a new trend and having guests on the show. And all right, stay safe. Keep your fingers unbloodied.
Yeah.
And hopefully you get many more engines to come to tinker with.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Have a good night. All right, folks. It looks like we had a good chunk of people in. So thanks everybody for joining me. I really appreciate it. I've got a new video coming out. Probably should be up tomorrow for a little helicopter if you're interested in some whopper choppering. And thanks everybody for joining in. Thanks for your comments. I really appreciate everybody. And so I will guess cut loose now and go put the finishing touches on that video, so to speak. And we will see you later. Thanks everybody for joining me. Have a good night and a good rest of the weekend. All 2 hours of it left or so. Cheers. See you later.